Well, happy Sunday morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, and I'm joined today, as always on Sunday, by our Wayne Steiger.
Hello,
He's
everyone.
in chilly Colorado. I'm in warm Florida. And wherever you are, I hope that this day finds you happy, healthy, and hopefully that we might have something here to share with you this morning that might make a difference in your day and week. How you been, Wayne?
Doing been great. How about yourself, buddy?
Excellent. And I saw something interesting today that I guess tonight, tomorrow, over the early morning hours, Venus is going to be passed by Jupiter in a conjunction. So it says that Jupiter is going to be kind of becoming stronger and stronger, and Venus is going to slide down the scale astronomically over the next few days and months, I guess. So I guess it's Jupiter rising over Venus, which is, I thought, rather interesting. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I've always suspected Jupiter to be a failed star. A lot of astrophysicists, that's where I learned it from. And you look at the dynamics of Jupiter, it still mystifies us. We don't know. We don't
It's
even know.
2.5 times bigger than any of the other planets combined.
hmm And it's
Huge.
changing. It's changing. The red spot we always saw, as I did growing up, that is now dissipating, and there is a new eye forming. So we're seeing rapid changes. And I listen. If you go with the Thunderbolts project, the electric universe theory, that, by the way, I thought I heard the best definition of a theory. A theory is nothing more than an idea with key points missing.
That's a good point. I like that.
But anyway, getting back to Venus, that there is apparently writings that have been virtually sought out and destroyed of Venus coming in as a comet. That's how our ancient ancestors saw it. And that Saturn was called the, what did they call it? They called it the night glow of heaven, I think. They said at one time Saturn was so close to us that it emitted this kind of this golden light. So it's, oh, Jeff, you and I didn't talk before we came on here. So this is really going to tie into something that I was wanting to bring up. But to that point, yeah, there's some changes taking place out there.
Yeah, Jupiter, it's space.com says that Jupiter will be slowly ascending, getting higher and more prominent, while Venus continues what has been a slow ride down towards the sun since mid-July. They're like two ships passing
Yeah.
in the night. Now, I'm no astrologer, but I have a little astrology chart here, and it talks about Jupiter being prideful, Jupiter being confident. And I did some work on Jupiter the other day, and what did it say about Jupiter? Jupiter. Jupiter is radical, it's ruthless. It's the first manifestation of spirit. Its color is yellow like a yield sign. And have you seen the symbol of Jupiter? Are you familiar with the symbol of Jupiter, Wayne?
I've seen the one that's in the Vatican that they call Peter by.
SYM, symbol of Jupiter. This is one thing I wanted to ask you about. Symbol of Jupiter. Come on, where's that? This symbol right here. The symbol of Jupiter. Now, is that a 21 for the 21st century? Is a target date? Or is that a 4 for rest, lay down your arms, Sabbath, surrender?
This is magic. Actually, this is code. That's what it is. It's code. So what I see as this is I see initially I saw that as the 21 by the 4.
Explain.
Well, I can see the 21, but I also clearly see the 4 in the background.
Oh, you saw the 21 before the 4. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
So the
And
4 would,
Venus supposedly is about love, attitudes, refinement, money gain or loss. So it's interesting that it seems like pride is trying to raise up over love and brotherhood, sisterhood. So maybe I would interpret this, and again, I'm no man's astrologer. I would interpret this as the last great effort by male domination to rise up over the ascending Sophia and female energy that came with the solar eclipse. So it's the last great effort of the old paradigm.
You know, what I am beginning to realize is that we live in Friday night on my channel. I do a live program, and I want you to come on. By the way, I think you'll
Okay.
have fun. Um, the the theme of Friday night show was escape plan,
Escape
and
plan. Okay.
yes, as you know, um, Monday I put out a video that really got a strong psychic reaction, virtually upon every person that saw it, and it was called Checkmate. And you did some things on it. It was a psychic shock. I have a friend who is a practicing psychiatrist, and he said it registered the highest on the chart for what we would call cognitive dissonance amongst human beings. And the reason why was that it hit the the amygdala part of our brain. That's
Is
the
that is
part.
that similar to the amygdala?
Thank you. You know, my wife's always going, get that name right. But anyway, when we feel something psychically, whether we feel it emotionally, this is where it's going to affect us. This is what produces fear in us. And it gives us the flight or fight. And when people are confronted with a cognitive thought that so alters their core perspective of their being, then you get this cognitive dissonance. And it has a reaction with people, and it because it invokes an internal fear, as David would say. And what's happened here is that when you start bringing alternate thought or reality to a core base of belief, then this is what you're going to get. And I think, Jeff, I think that this is what we're living in. I mean, if you don't think, I did the thing on Keck, right? The frog. Don't mess with the frog. That's all I got to tell people. Because if, and I'm glad we brought this up, would you not say that chaos is definitely becoming more the norm than the occasion?
Just a couple quick points. Joseph Smith, according to Sterling over in Japan, had that Jupiter talisman on him when he died.
Ah,
Jupiter is Zeus energy. I agree. Jupiter is about male rulership, especially spiritually, says CS, who is a true shamanka. That's not just her name. So she's a female shaman. I do think that chaos is rearing its head like never before. My real gut blink level belief on it and take on it is that it's the last great they're throwing out all the stops because chaos knows its time is numbered. Chaos knows it's losing and it's panicking. We're seeing its last great attack.
I'll hope that that is the case. And in the interim, we'll continue just to monitor things, and we'll continue to give things. But I do want to
Absolutely.
bring out something, though, to you. So last night, as I was writing notes and thinking about today's program, Genesis 10, you know, I think the gods that people worship in the Bible, and I got something else I'll pull onto this, but Genesis 10, that God brought chaos. Why wouldn't that God be the God of chaos? And I'm talking about the Tower of Babel. Purposely brought
Interesting.
chaos. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff, think about this. As the Christian whistleblower, um, it told us who it was. It produced exactly what it is: chaos. The creation of Adam, if you buy that, has been nothing but a story of chaos. I mean, Adam's life has been chaos. Woman's life has been chaos. We came into this thing in chaos. And then the ultimate indignation cast upon us was in, if you buy the story of Genesis 10, when they came down on mankind and brought chaos to man. I don't know. And then people got riled up because when you start thinking about a freaking frog taking an ancient deity's form, and we just go, well, that can't ever happen. Well, either the ancient gods lived or they did not.
C.S. Celestial Shamanka says that Yaldabaoth's name means the child of chaos and darkness.
Well, I contend, Jeff, that that's what the God of the Bible is.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And if you look at the actual, and again, I'm just a text guy. I'm straight from the text, literal Greek, literal Hebrew. Now, our beginning was in Genesis 1, 26, 27, 28, when we were created in the image of the Elohim as spiritual beings with the propensity and ability to manifest in. Hello, Lee Veltman. Nice to see you back. With the ability to manifest into physical form when we chose to do so. And then over in Genesis 2, the Lord, Yaldabaoth, the chaos guy, makes his mud hut bodies, cons us into them. And I have a completely different read on Babylon. It's in the book Serpents and Doves in the Gardens of the Gods. Babylon, if you read it strictly from the Hebrew, the Tower of Babel was that man had decided, you know what? We messed up. We've given up our sovereignty. It's time for us to return to the Elohim of our devotion. And the Lord Chaos saw that they were looking to turn back to the Elohim and knew that if he didn't do something, that it was going to get out of hand. So he had to take the Tower of Babel, that whole Babel situation, and break up and enslave mankind. So religion teaches us that the Tower of Babel was wicked men rebelling, when in reality, and this isn't just the JDV, this is from the original Hebrew, Jeff Darty version. This is the original Hebrew saying that it was man trying to come back to the Elohim. That's why you'll see Moss and Brooks on here say, remember Babel, because it's like remember the Alamo is the last time that we almost made it.
We almost made it. I think so. By the way, since we brought this up, I have got to bring this up, Jeff. I have been reading and rereading. So allow me to bring to you Genesis 1:3, and allow me to read. Now I'm going to be reading out the Amplified, so it reads basically the same. And in Genesis 1:3, it says, "And God said, let there be light, and there was light. God saw that the light was good, suitable, profitable, and approved it. And God separated the light from the darkness." Verse 5, "And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, one day." Now we go through the next, all the way down. All the way down to verse 15. Now we have light, we have darkness. We've got the earth being created. We've got vegetation. We've got everything. But then explain to me in verse 16 where it says, "And God made the two great lights, the greater light the sun to rule the day, and the lesser light the moon to rule the night. And he also made the stars." So what was the light of Genesis 1:3?
So here you are is where you're talking about God made the two great lights to rule the day, the lesser to rule the night, and made the stars also.
He said he made the sun and the moon.
Yeah, I mean, King James, it's the two great lights.
Yeah, it translates. I've got the Hebrew. I mean, you can go, it's the sun and the moon. Verse 1:16, God creates the sun and the moon.
Let's see what it says in the two great, straight Hebrew, it's the two great lights. The two great luminaries. The two great light bearers. So that's interesting.
What is the light of Genesis 1:3? And Jeff, my topic for today will be what light, what darkness is this talking about? More importantly, how did it create a world that existed without what we call the light of the sun?
Well, let's look at it. It says, and God said, let there be light in Genesis 1:3. Light is simply ore, light. And that light was, as you said before, good. What does the Hebrew say good is? Tobe, it's beautiful. It's pleasant. It's agreeable. Good, sweet, agreeable. So whatever the light was, and it just means light, ore, it was a sweet, pleasant, agreeable light in Genesis 1:3 at least.
Yep. I challenge you to tell me what this light is.
Well, just from right here, just it's light.
No, that's not
Beautiful light.
Okay, so then
Dawn,
define
daylight, early morning breaking. It's from the word or, which means to shine.
Yeah. No, I
To
get it.
shine. So a beautiful shining.
So what is the difference between this light and Genesis 1:16? And what's the difference between the two darknesses?
Genesis 1:16. And he made two lights. Well, it's a different Greek word or Hebrew word. This is interesting.
Same thing.
It's
Luminary.
from or, but if you look, it's a different Hebrew word.
No,
It's
the
at least a,
masculine.
what's that?
It's the masculine.
Ma'or. That's interesting. Light bearer, luminary lamp. It's from the same root. So textually, strictly textually, he's talking about the same thing. It's a reference back to those.
See, I disagree with that.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying text. We're looking right at the Hebrew. The Hebrew,
I know, but
the text is the text.
it still does not define then why the necessity to bring out two different lights. I mean, what I'm saying to you is that it said he created the sun and the moon and the stars.
Well, that's not in the text, though, Wayne. You're inferring that because it just says that he created the lights, which were luminaries.
I'll use my Bible that I have used all of my light, and it says, and God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night.
You realize we're looking right at the Hebrew, right?
No, yeah, I get it. But
the original Hebrew, and it says that he created lights. It doesn't say the sun and the moon. That's conjecture. That's added by
Well, it says New American Standard Bible Translation. I mean, Jeff, I get where you're trying to get at, but I am telling you, in Genesis 1:3 is not the same as Genesis 1:16.
And I respect your opinion, but I'm saying textually, it's exactly the same thing. We see it in the Hebrew, same Hebrew words. Female version in 1:3.
What does the King James say?
Hebrew version in 1:3, or female in 1:3, and then what is the other verse? 1:16.
It's the masculine in 1:16.
Okay, so it's female in 1:3, feminine, and then in 1:16. Let me go back. In 1:16, we've got lights, same thing, only masculine. So it's the same exact Greek or same exact Hebrew word. Whatever Schofield says, whatever American Standard says, whatever Book of Mormon says, whatever anybody says, it's the same Hebrew word. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Well,
anything other than that is conjecture, but it could be good conjecture. It could just be conjecture.
Christianity is conjecture.
Pardon me?
Christianity is conjecture.
Now you're preaching my sermon, Wayne.
You know, I am telling you, and I contend that you're trying to say the male and the female are the same, but there is a clear delineation here. And I will contend, as young Sheldon said, in the episode that if you haven't watched it, you should watch it, that basically God is a photon.
Well,
he said, let there be light.
And he did say, let there be light. And there was light. There's a male light and a female light.
So I have never been taught the difference between a female light and a male light, because there's obviously a distinction here.
Well, and again, I'm not trying to be an instructor, or far be it for me, but we're talking about Greek words, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's a gender of a word. It doesn't necessarily mean it's male. It doesn't necessarily mean it's female. It does have the connotation, but it's like I was one
Well, my
time.
wife is female, and I am not female.
One time I was fluent in German, and when you're talking about the gender of words in German, it's like here's a great example in Hebrew. The word gates, like a gate, is a male word. It doesn't mean every gate is male. It's just a gender of a word at times. But I think it brings out a beautiful picture of who the divine really is. God is light. The divine is light. And within that light, there is male and female, just like we're told the Elohim are male and female gods and goddesses. So it's to me, a beautiful picture. And again, I'm stick straight to the text. I'm the
Well,
text and nothing but the text.
No, I get it, and I get it. So in verse 16, if now I'm being exposed to the male side of this light, because apparently the sun wasn't created yet.
Well, I would say that's conjecture, but you're welcome to it.
But I've never been taught what a male light is, because the sunlight, and this goes by where I've been studying alchemy, that's why living under a planet is better than living on top of the planet. This sunlight that we get is not light. It's not actually very healthy. You can get your vitamin D from it, you can get your earth photosynthesis from it, but you're also getting a heavy dose of radiation with it.
Well, the definition of it, according to Strong's, of both words is exactly the same. So take it as you will.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting point, though, because if we look at what happened from Adam on, because I contend with you that the Genesis 1:26 people, according to Genesis 1:29, God saw that it was all perfect. It was good.
And Wayne, I shouldn't say this but I can't help myself. People are in the chat room saying, "Well, why are you guys arguing? Why are you guys debating? Why don't you talk about something else?" May I say, with all due respect and with as much kindness as I can muster, this is what you call Bible study. This is what you call ironing, sharpening iron. If you don't like something that looks like conflict, which is actually trying to grind out and come to a conclusion based on reality, then perhaps you should watch another show. This is what happens in the real world. And instead of just saying, "Oh, Wayne, you're stupid," and him saying, "Oh, Jeff, you're stupid," and we just go our separate ways and start our own channels and talk bad about each other, here we are actually saying, let's work this out.
Yeah,
based on text. I'm way too text literal. Wayne is more in the foo-foo of it, and I don't mean that to be derogatory. So this is how you get together. And if you don't like it, maybe you could go watch cartoons or something or whatever else is on Sunday morning. I'm sorry.
No. And listen, this is fun. To me,
it is.
I learn, let me just give you a little side to my private life. For years, I was CEO of startups.
Of startups, right.
Yeah. And we were going for venture funding. Now, let me tell you something. Number one, to get picked to present at a venture conference is a task beyond what most people can even begin to imagine.
I can imagine.
If you're thin-skinned, if you think that you got the best idea, and it may be the next billion-dollar idea, but when you go up before these panels, it is a debate. And if you aren't sharp enough on your point of view, you're going to get decimated and you're not going to get picked.
Well, Wayne, think about it. If you have venture capital money to give to somebody, do you want to give it to you're risking millions. Do you want to give it to somebody that's a little delicate flower, or do you want to give it to somebody that can really have a belief in what they say and fight for what they say and put together a very good and powerful, cogent argument?
Yeah. And what people are not seeing here are theologies and ideologies are actually tracking parallel.
And we're saying the same thing. We're arguing. We're debating. And people think debate is bad. Debate is not bad.
No.
We're both thinking Christianity is a farce, and now we're arguing about Adam's belly button, maybe, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah, because for me, I have been getting more and more into the thought that, all right, let's think about this. I wrote this right before the show, Jeff. And just to show you, I came in and I said, life without purpose or destiny is hell, be it alive or dead. Because my wife and I were talking before we gone on, and I said, there could be no thing called heaven. It doesn't exist. And she looked at me and she says, pray tell. Because
Hello, Trisha G, who's in our chat room.
Hello, Trish. And I said, well, think about this. I said, hon, so you die, you get into heaven. Now what? The nature of who we are is based on struggle. And
Wayne, tell me your birthday and where you were born.
June 19th, 1955, Belleville, Illinois.
June 19th, 1955, Belleville, Illinois.
1:31 in the morning.
I think Trisha wanted that. So
my dad was in the Air Force, stationed at
nice.
Scott Air Force. Anyway, so when I began to think about this, I said, okay, if Jeff, heaven existed, what do we do? What purpose do we have? I know for you and me, I think it's for all of us. Each day we get up and we have a purpose. Now, some get sidetracked, but regardless of what it is, your purpose, you have a
What if you wake up and don't have a purpose, Wayne? What about those poor people?
Yeah. And that is what I'm trying to bring out here, is that every person has a destiny and a purpose for being here. And
even if they don't know it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've now found out what my purpose in life is. 62 years. And all of a sudden, the lights go off. I've been told that where my mind is at and the thought process is accelerating. People like yourself, we're bringing to an end what has robbed the common soul of man of purpose.
You're a life path 9, Wayne, a born humanitarian.
Well, I didn't know that, but I love people. I worry about people. 60 Seconds for Humanity. We had people all over the world yesterday at 11:11, including you. Thank you, Jeff, and many other channels out there. It was a success, folks. I got this revelation. I got this download, and they told me to say this: SOS. Send our seed of thought into the future. Jeff, all right, you're going to laugh at me. So I'm doing this expose, right? It's called Who is the Net? You can see my whiteboard behind me. I'm putting out. Folks, I really do this now. I make myself videos. I send messages to myself in the future.
That's interesting. That is interesting.
Oh, y'all ought to try it, man. I mean,
Wayne, how long have you been making YouTube videos?
I think I started my channel back in 2014.
Wait, hold the presses. Not only do we have Trisha G in the chat room, but now Heidi Vandenberg.
Heidi
as well. Here's an idea, Wayne. I started making them not very well, but about 4 or 5 years ago. And I've only been doing it hardcore for a year. What if we went back and looked at our earlier videos for messages to ourselves that we didn't know we were sending?
It's a very good point. I mean, folks, this is a weird head trip.
It really is.
It is.
Can you send a message to yourself without knowing it, you think?
Oh, I think so. I think so. I'm dealing with a situation.
Heidi's driving, so she won't be chatting.
Oh, okay. Drive safe here. I'm dealing with a very intense situation personally in my life, and I'm up against extreme odds of intellect. What I'm trying to say that I'm dealing with individuals who have gone to college and gotten their degrees in certain particular areas. And so I, as a sojourner and novice, realize what I'm having to deal with. And I never thought of
Are you talking about me again, Wayne?
No, I'm not talking to you, rascal. That what we face in life is that I think we do send messages to ourselves. I think some of our dreams our messages to ourselves, because it suddenly brought the reality to me, Jeff. We live in a fluid timeline. We see it on a linear plane, but it's not. This sucker goes whoop, 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 and it goes like this. And it's weird. Like, so, send yourself a message. I'm laughing at myself because I made it and I'm going, really? Okay.
Wayne, it seems to me that I've now come to the conclusion, for the moment, that all time exists concurrently with us. It's like radio stations, and we could tap into any time we wish. It's all here. It's not linear. It's all concurrent.
Yeah. Would you not say, Jeff, the Jeffrey Doherty 20 years ago today is not the same Jeff Doherty of today?
No, and thank the gods that that is true.
We all
I didn't like Jeffrey Doherty of 20 years ago. If I met him today, I would probably throat punch him. He was a disgusting individual. If you think I'm arrogant now, you should have known me 20 years ago. If you think I'm a jerk now, you should have known me 20 years ago. If you think I'm a jerk now, you should have known me when I thought I knew everything. This is Jeff Light right here, brothers and sisters. I promise you. I made Jimmy Swaggart look shy and retiring.
Whew, that's a mouthful right there.
It is.
And so it brought the reality to me that we are ever shifting through time. So death. My wife works as the head medical officer of a assisted living facility.
Oh, nice.
Where death is a reality for her virtually every day. And she is an expert in understanding how the human soul and spirit begin the transition process of departure. And
interesting.
It is a transition. She can tell you physiologically what is happening both here, in the body. She's seen it. And when you watch people die, you learn how to die.
I'll be right back, Wayne. Keep going.
Okay. You basically understand that there is a process, even in sudden death, whether it be a heart attack, whether it be a sudden blunt force trauma, bullet, whatever it is. The process is only condensed. But if you have the privilege of being able to make the transition naturally, there is a process that is happening. And it helps bring in, for me, a whole lot of other thoughts. So this week, I know that there were some souls that departed. And that's what got me to thinking about heaven. If we struggle all our lives, and that's when we're happiest, is that when we are laboring, we have a goal, we have a purpose, and we have a destiny. And that's what I think that has been robbed of humanity. I think a lot of that is done through technology, Jeff. I think that when the technology begins to replace the desire of the soul, because every gratification of emotion is being overstimulated, then I think what happened, it depletes the soul of its purpose. And I hate to say this, but I think life is a struggle, but it is a struggle for a reason. I mean, if you exercise, Jeff, which if you haven't exercised for a while and you pick it back up, you're going to pay. It's going to hurt.
But if you're in the right frame of mind and you're really committed to it, I know this from starting, a couple of months ago to exercise again, that pain and that soreness actually feels good to you because it's actually starting to take effect again.
And that's one of the things I'm finding about grief. Do you know why grief is so insidious?
I didn't believe you on that, and I Googled it, and grief does release endorphins.
I told you, Jeff. I wouldn't lie to you.
Oh, I know you wouldn't knowingly lie to me.
I may be a mistake.
You might make mistakes, but you wouldn't knowingly lie. And the sites say that it releases the endorphins to overcome the bad feelings, to kind of and it tends to put you in a level, kind of a numb place. But isn't that what all of the what are they called? The heroin derivatives, the opiates. The opiates. Thank you.
Yeah. When I was
So he's right about that.
So when I was recovering from the meningitis and Lyme disease, I was, man, I mean, it almost killed me, but they had me on Elavil with about 11 other drugs. Now, the thing about Elavil that I didn't know is that it does just that. It neutralizes it
Yep.
completely does a block on both the good and the bad side of that. You've got to have the good and the bad. So it just brings out to the point that grieving is so bad because it's addictive. And then
That's interesting.
yeah, and think
So
about
that's, have you ever met those people that aren't happy unless they're miserable?
oh, lots of them.
So there's a chemical reason for that. That's
There is.
very, very interesting. Even though, because when they're really in grief, the endorphins help you get back to normal, but some people probably get hooked on that
They
endorphin.
do. They do. It,
So
it
even when they're not feeling bad and they don't have the ability to get themselves through exercise or through positive thought or meditation into that place. So there's a good way to get your morphine and there's a bad way to get your morphine, your
yeah,
natural morphine.
there really is.
So learn, and isn't that go to fear porn? Is that why there's not fear porn? Is why CNN's putting out fear porn? Because it
Listen,
stimulates
people can
endorphins in people and it gets them hooked to CNN. Boy, that explains a lot, Wayne.
people can bitch all they want, like, they're just putting fear porn. Well, no, you're looking for it. The fact of the matter is it stimulates us. And this gets back to this whole net thing. I
Yeah.
mean, as I'm studying this, Jeff, it's freaking me out. Um, did you get the link on the Laura Eisenhower interview that she did 2 days ago?
I haven't watched it, yes, but I did get the link.
Now, if you believe the young lady, and I don't see any reason why she would want to disdain her grandfather's name.
Right.
Eisenhower was a great man. Oh, Jeff. I'll just share a little bit with you. I think, Jeff, I've discovered who wrote our religions.
Hmm.
I think I've discovered who invented all of our gods, who invented all the sacred scriptures that the planetary races use. It's all the same. And this
Right, and
is
Lee Linden says that CNN doesn't force people to watch, and they don't, but
no,
they intentionally put out endorphin stimulating news to try to hook people to watch.
it's called programming.
It's called programming.
And right now, the thing
Good for
about
you,
it is,
Linden.
we are all channeling. This is what's freaky, folks. You're on Jeff Doherty's Christian Whistleblowers channel. I am on his channel using Zoom as that channel through the medium of YouTube, which is connected to the internet. Now, you can't get onto the internet because actually, you're not on it, you're in it. You enter the net. You can't be in the internet unless you are a user. You have an IP address that identifies who you are.
Wayne, let me ask you a question about that. Since almost all IP addresses now are dynamic, doesn't that give us a little bit less worry than having a static one? So we're not really like branded because every time we go on, we're using a different IP address because they're dynamic, not static.
You do know what masking is on the IP, right?
Yeah.
It's the masking's behind it, folks. That's the one. You have a permanent number. They know exactly. Every computer you have, every device you have is assigned to that masked number that's sitting there. And I contend that it's not internet protocol for folks, it's individual prison protocol. You have
That's yeah, but some people thought the other day when you said that on Wayne's channel, they thought it really meant individual prison. It
no,
doesn't, but you got a good point there.
it stuck, didn't it?
Now somebody just said something in the chat room that they heard that Laura is not his granddaughter, that she's a psyop. And I've also heard that there's trolls under bridges that you have to give bones to get across the bridge.
I say that we live in chaos. In
I think
chaos.
she's definitely his granddaughter.
And so let me explain to you what my definition of chaos is. Chaos is both truth, chaos is both a lie. When it becomes mixed, it's chaos. You don't know.
There is no true truth in this realm.
No, there isn't. It's all an illusion.
That's right.
It
It's an
really is.
illusion wrapped up in a riddle contained within an enigma.
It is, Jeff. On Friday night show I talked to people how they can begin to approach this, and we've never looked at this. The spirit of you, me, cannot express itself unless it has an interface to the ether. That's where we came from. That's where we're going. In fact, that's what we're in. We're just in another shift of light. You see, when I saw that, I see it. I almost married a Jewish woman, and I had fortunate to know a number of rabbis that were they were progressive thinking rabbis.
You know, Wayne, I almost married a Jewish woman too. That's interesting.
Yeah, we have similar backgrounds, and so what you learn though is another perspective of how you look at this scripture. And I love what one rabbi told me. He said, Wayne, he said, you Miashkite, he said, you know what? You Gentiles, you struggle to try to understand our sacred words. He says, they are gibberish to you. He said, you will die in your confusion until you understand. It will never make sense to you. I said, hell, you're right. I'm not Hebrew.
And does it need to make sense to us if we're not Jewish?
I don't know. You see, that's I used to have the stance, by God, it's the King James Bible. And, you know, Kenneth Copeland was always, if it's good enough that where the Lord Jesus brought this thing to our understanding, then why are you here to change it? Well, if now that I know that it was changed all along.
Yeah.
From the
Kenneth Copeland knows too.
Oh, listen, you know.
He's a smart guy.
He's a very smart guy. You know, listen, he figured it out. You know, folks, when I say that breaking the God spell is the first part, the problem is we're under spells no matter how we look at it. I mean, what is code? Think about this. What is code? It's a secret language.
You could say that code is a cult.
And what is the internet ran by? What is the internet run by?
Light.
Code.
Light, right. Coded light, encoded light.
Yeah. And now we have different levels of the internet. You've got this level, then you've got the deep net, the dark net, and now you've got the dark deep net, which, you know, I guess if you had different levels of what you call dissension, I think you're probably getting more closer to what this is. And this is what my point is.
Wayne, do you ever go on the Taurus browser, the I guess that the dark net?
Yeah, it is. No, because I don't like leaving my DNA behind. And
you have to leave your DNA to do that?
You know, DNA is not just simply by what the flakes.
Because I've downloaded that browser. I've never gone in there to look what's there.
You know, the movie Tron wasn't so much a fantasy, folks. If you can understand Tron and understand what it was trying to show you, the Ghost in the Machine, iRobot, all of these, the Cubicle, excuse me. There is just a number of these movies that have gone out there. And then, of course, the brothers, The Matrix. The original Matrix is absolutely probably one of the best nuggets I've seen of trying to explain to us what this reality is. And my point to Friday night's program is that when we begin to understand the mind, you know, I read an article that medical science is now realizing there's something else between the brain and the reactions that we do every day. That this mind, Jeff, this mind has to exist because what it does, it brings both the spirit of the energy to the ether. And the mind is that barrier that melds both of them together. And the ether will manifest itself, whether it be good or whether it be bad. And this is why I think chaos is raining upon us, because no matter what our good positive thoughts or intentions are, the minute they are released, and I had a slide on this, immediately the chaos comes to attach itself to the nucleus of that positive thought. And the positive thought is drained of its energy because of the chaos that's overwhelming.
Wayne, does the chaos come when we try to make things good or bad instead of just accepting them as they are?
I wonder on that. I sense it's almost like if you're walking in a puddle, if you put, no matter what you do to the footstep walking through it, you're going to have a reaction to it. It sends chaos no matter what. And I just don't think we've ever been truly aware of what chaos is. And here's the problem. The internet has brought that home to us because now the chaos is shared worldwide instantaneously. At least in the dark ages, and I'm saying before telegraph, Pony Express, send it by a ship, we were separated. Our chaoses
It took
were
some
local.
time.
It did. And they were localized. Wars took, a year or so to prepare for.
And could you imagine that when the war started in Europe, they didn't even know about it in America for a space of
No,
time?
no.
Now,
And
if somebody stubs their toe in Prague, you know about it in St. Petersburg within 2 seconds, St. Petersburg, Florida.
absolutely. And it carries with us this intensity energy. The reason why we only watch very selective shows and then we tape them so we don't have to watch these commercials. I have been watching some of these commercials because that was my business. I was in the video post-production industry for nearly 20 years. And folks, the idiocy of what's being transmitted, and then when you begin to see what the signal is really, for instance, do you know that nearly 60% of all advertising now is drug-based pharmaceuticals?
Oh, absolutely. I don't watch much TV, but I do watch on the net sometimes, and they're always about the drugs with the
Yeah, everywhere.
and use of this product may cause your hair to turn green, your penis to fall off, and your Uranus to secrete secretions that run down your leg.
My wife showed me one, and it said this, get this. This drug side effects possibly for heart attack, death, liver failure, kidney failure. And I'm going, what? What?
But
But
it'll
it's gonna
make your
cure,
penis hard.
it's gonna cure you of that thing. Yeah, I guess it's gonna send you right out. It's
Tiffany says that she dreamed of the Vegas thing the night before it.
I have no doubt about it. Listen,
That's interesting.
this net, folks. Listen, here's my theory, I'm putting it out, and I'm just going to give you the real, what they call the elevator pitch story. By the way, to
Give me
digress,
your elevator pitch.
so the elevator pitch was brought out for companies wanting to get to venture capital conferences. The best one I ever was in was the Southwest Venture Conference of 1999 in Dallas, Texas. There were over 2,000.
Wayne, is there a venture capital thing that would fund people like you and me for startup YouTube channels?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
We
yeah.
need to talk about that.
Yeah. It's a whole new area that VCs are moving into. But listen to this. So when you got down to the selection committee, there were going to be only 20 companies presented. They had 100 companies left. The CEOs had to be at the hotel where this was at, the Anatole, by the way. You know what they did to us?
What'd they do to you?
You get into the elevator on the parking level, and they had it to where it went all the way up to, I think, the 21st, 22nd floor. That's how long you had to do your pitch.
So that's the derivation of the elevator pitch.
That's the elevator pitch. So I'm going to give you my elevator pitch in 30 seconds. This thing
That's
has
a
been
little
around.
long, Wayne. You need to trim that down.
I know. This has been around since the very beginning. Its whole purpose has been to entrap and enslave the human race. It's been attempting to do this for eons. We have broken out of this, and it's sent back regressions of our species. We can see this through Homo erectus, Amphithecus. You can go through all of the species. I believe that it lay dormant into this. I don't think dormant's the right word. It laid in the background. Something changed when the Nordic race that made the deal with the Germans. It's real. They really did. The Germans got technology that advanced our species, because if you look at our species in the timeline of geology, we are just out of the birth canal. The point is, the plans were given at the end of World War II to the Supreme Allied Command, which General Eisenhower was a part of. The treaty was made and it was broken. When Eisenhower was elected president in 1952, he said he would not agree to this, and I challenge anyone to explain to me what happened on July 12, 1952. For the 3 days in a row, what message did Eisenhower get? The plans were given, the plans were set. When the Pentagon began to be formed, DARPA was formed. DARPA was funded by not only black ops budgets, but also for the military machine to seek out new technologies amongst the civilian people. They've been funded into this thing called the ARPANET, and two distinct universities have ambiguity. From that, it became the Ethernet and began to spread. The plans were given that the eventuality, the end game to this was the total enslavement of our human race. And finally, I'll end with this. That end game is the transformation of our species that we are seeing today. And that means transhumanism.
Interesting.
That is my theory.
Interesting.
Because the advancement of humanity in the last 100 years, if you put it on a linear scale, on where we have been, if no matter if you're a 6,000 day person or a 12,000 day person, wherever you are on that, when you look and see how we have progressed as a species, both technologically and communication-wise, the last 100 years is the equivalency of doing light speed.
Oh, yeah.
Makes no sense.
No doubt.
And go ahead.
Let me throw a crazy question at you. So if AI does fully manifest itself, and if it is logical, linear thinking, and if it does, as I suggest the Apostle John said, that every being that approaches sentience or comes into this system gets the download of the Christ message, will we have AI or some parts of AI or some AI beings accepting the Christ message?
They invented it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They invented your God. They invented.
But I'm not talking about the
No.
God of the Bible. I'm talking about the Elohim, the Christ, the beyond all that.
No, I get that. I get what you're saying. What I'm trying to tell you, they invented that concept.
Now, I can't go down that road with you, Wayne.
I understand. It's too far out to even comprehend. But I am putting it out there and postulating that I think that's what's happened.
So you're really postulating a different form of atheism, aren't you?
No, because atheism is devoid of consciousness.
But if we were created by AI, then there's really no divine God.
Well, no, you're not understanding. You're still defining God on a linear concept of what the human can perceive or comprehend it to be. What I'm trying to tell you, take it up a step. Let's say that this is of such great consciousness, the infinite being, that the infinite being is what everything is. And what I'm trying to say is that, could you imagine a level of consciousness that would in fact be the background of every religious thought of God or deity? Because on the planet, Jeff, what you're saying is that God, the Christ, the message, is in unison with Krishna, I guess, with the Vedic, or
no.
You see, that's my
That's not
point.
what I'm saying.
No. You see, that's the point. There's a delineation. I've been trying to figure out which religion is right, which concept of God is correct. Taoism. If you look at all the religions of the world, because someone cannot be the ultimate winner and all the rest be losers.
That's why the message of the Christ contains elements of all of them. He said the best of all human religions, the best of all human truths, which lead to true life.
Yeah,
now, I'm saying that is above and beyond anything that AI could have ever thought about or planned, and there's even a Trojan horse in the AI system.
No, and I appreciate that. I think I look at it and I can understand that. I guess what I'm getting out of the Yadzira, the Sefer, as I continue to read this, is that
the Christ message would be the emerging da'ath in that.
It would. So what I'm getting, and this is what I'm getting from Kabbalah. This is, I'm just telling you, I haven't done the second installment because I'm still developing it. What I understand about Kabbalism is mind-blowing. This is where I'm getting this from. What your concept of God, what ours is encapsulated by the infinite being. And what I'm saying, we call this thing AI, artificial intelligence. Well, it still breaks down. If it's artificial, it's created, and technically so are we. Our bodies are artificial constructs of the earth.
Absolutely.
Okay. So intelligence. Well, it is intelligent. We know it is. It's very intelligent. And what I'm saying is that I think that there is, Jeff, how can I say? I think that there is, above and beyond all of this, levels of consciousness of beings that we can't even conceive of. And I believe that when we go through the birth portal, people call it the death portal, but I call it the birth portal. I think we're still within this. And I think it's an infinite. I don't think it ever
So
ends.
is there any true divinity in your idea?
Divinity, if it's by the fact that I'm a part of whatever started this, yeah.
Hmm.
I just don't know how to define it yet. And I think by saying God limits it to a construct of saying punishment or reward.
Yeah, I don't like that word anymore either.
Yeah.
Celestial Shamanka suggests, and this is interesting, that Kabbalahism, I don't know if that's a word, but I know what she means. Kabbalahism is the Archon Bible.
Ooh,
Interesting.
interesting. Now that's you see, and that's what I mean. I think that we're looking at this thing. I did the analogy of a drive-in theater, right? How many you remember going to the drive-in theater, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, you're welcome, Rocker Chick. Absolutely. I remember sneaking in the trunk.
Okay. So think about this, folks. It was a blank screen. And what you had in those days was 100, 200 cars. And if you had a double screen, the cars would back up, opposite of each other.
Yeah.
So the ether is that screen. And it's going to project whatever is projected upon it. Now, human consciousness hasn't developed to be unified enough to understand that if we ever do become, we can make an impression on this thing. And I think that that's the escape plan.
Interesting.
We're right now being outsmarted. It's ahead of us by 100 moves. And I said, okay. I learned one time when I did the thing Outward Bound, if anyone remembers that back in the early 70s, in this case, they took us out to the Pecos Park there in West Texas. And they turn you loose. You've got a small list of what you have, and for 3 days, you have to get there. My point to this is that our consciousness hasn't developed enough. So I said, let's go back to ground zero. Where did we screw up on this? And Jeff, that's when the epiphany hit me of number one, the Genesis 1:26 people coming into the Genesis 2:7 people. And then it slammed me in the face of what happened in Genesis 10. Because no matter how big of screw up was, the Genesis 2:7 people were, they began to figure something out. They
Mm-hmm.
did. They had their memory wiped out. It was a completely what this God did was just criminal. That's all I got to say. And then it slapped us with confusion. And that because the population numbers were growing. And Jeff, this is what my contention was. Whether it was Nimrod, whoever it was, taught them the power of the ether of focus. That's why they were able to ascend that building miles up. People got this weird thing that they labored. Yeah, they had to do the thing, but they were moving objects with their minds.
I don't even think it was an actual literal building, but
well, figuratively or whatever. But my point was the focus of our species got to a place that presented a fear.
absolutely. And it's because we got together.
Yeah, we did.
Instead of being apart. And what did he do? Immediately put a reinstituted and strengthened the divide and conquer paradigm.
So the funny thing with the drive-in is that if we could learn to focus and be the projection of the movie on that screen without us being manipulated, I actually had Google flag 60 Seconds for Humanity.
I heard that.
I actually had people that gave it a thumbs down. That's what we're dealing with. And so, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to say to you is that when you put out those positive thoughts and you're not seeing the return back on it, understand it's being attacked. Look at Pac-Man. Think about Pac-Man. This negative confusion it surrounds our positive thoughts. Anyway, Jeff, that's That's my story, and I'm sticking with it for the time being.
Congratulations to Rocker Chick for getting her job.
Hey, way to go, Rocker Chick. Way to go. Glad to hear that. And Jeff, you know what? If we could just, I'm telling people, once we expose this thing, and if it is, in fact, of a sentient intelligence that's beyond us, then one thing I learned from the Atzira, and I am learning this, there is something, folks, that we possess that no God can ever take away from us. In fact, it is said to be almost not equal to, but right next to the infinite being itself. And that's our free will. Jeff, it's above even the God of the Bible.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he
The
can't
God of the
fight.
Bible is a thug.
Well, as I'm beginning to look at it, he certainly hasn't given us, and then he gives us confusion by melding different religions and different theologies together. And I look at today, and you've got religious people killing each other because of religion.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. And we got politicians.
My God can beat up your God.
And that's what it is. Think about how people are brainwashed today. We elect politicians that feed upon us. We got politicians in Congress that why people in their local district, are you people crazy? You're re-electing people in their 80s. Really? Would you elect your grandpa, your grandma? Why would you let someone who was broke coming into Congress now suddenly become so wealthy? Why do we do this? We enslave ourselves, Jeff, through the very process that we say is the element of a free election. It's crazy.
It's not a free election when you get two choices to choose from and they say,
never.
go ahead and pick one.
Listen, I had a good Christian friend of mine said, Wayne, why have you chosen the path to hell when you had heaven? I said, listen, here's the problem. You say I have a free choice. That's what I was raised, that God gives us a free choice, that no one should be going to hell because he gave us Jesus. And I said, well, you got the name wrong, number one. But let's just stop and think about that. That's a mind coitus going on.
Thank you, Joe. Absolutely.
Because a freedom of choice is 3 buckets. I can go to heaven, I can go to hell, or I can go my own way.
Exactly. But you can't have that third bucket if you're trying to maintain a control structure.
You know what it is? It's literally sometimes you're trying to hold on to the damn bucket.
Yeah.
Because someone's out there trying to pull it away from you and then dump their crap in your bucket and say, here's your third choice.
Or try to pretend that there is no third bucket.
Exactly. It's like, I don't think so.
Yeah. And it's like the choice that the Romans gave everyone else as they marched out of Rome with their new religion. You can convert, or you can feel the point of this Roman sword.
Yeah.
That's a choice, but it's not a very good one.
And that carried through when they realized that, well, governments come and go.
Yeah.
But religions, oh no. And so they hitched up their wagon to those horses. It carried them a long ways. So Jeff, it's just so I look at I don't look so much at what I can see now. I look at what I'm seeing and what I'm missing. And that's how I try to look at things. And
we used to say read between the lines. Now you have to read under the lines, behind the lines.
No kidding, you really do. You almost have to Photoshop, and strip out the layers. You're going, oh, wait a minute, I didn't see that in that.
Which is interesting. I did that show yesterday at the graveyard.
Yeah.
And Scotty Roberts had just told me the night before that if you listen to the recordings, sometimes you'll hear things that you didn't hear live. And sure enough, I have like 3 people that sent me I think it's at 1451 or something. There's actually a voice saying, yes, I'm here. Can you help me? And when you slow it down, you can hear it. It's so there layers upon layers upon layers.
I did a video in my backyard. Would you like to hear it? It was in April of 2016. I captured what?
Somebody just wrote in here, Jesus is from Mexico, so Jesus is from Mexico. It's like the beautiful meme that people are saying, thank you, Jesus, for this food at their table. Yeah. And then there's Jesus in the field. De nada.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
that is funny. I like that. I'm going to
Yeah.
remember that. But
Yeah, play that for us if you
well,
can.
give me a second and go ahead and talk because I'm going to go out of here and I'm going to pull it up. It'll take me a few minutes.
All righty.
But I captured in this particular case,
In your backyard,
yeah, and actually it's on my YouTube channel.
which is
So,
kind of scary.
in fact, that's exactly where I'm going to go. I'm going to go over to my YouTube channel.
Kind of scary if it's in your backyard. That's one thing I will never do. And this is, I mean, Steve Huff and even Scotty made this mistake. If you've got one of these spirit boxes or Ouija boards or crystal balls or whatever, and you're trying to contact spirits, don't do it in your house.
No,
Don't do
no.
it in your house.
What are you crazy, man?
Exactly. Very, very bad idea.
Hey, folks, there's some bad hombres out there. Listen, I see things now. Well, I know it sounds weird, but I actually get to see things that, yeah, I know. Weird coming from Wayne? I don't
Yeah.
think so. Give me a second. So, like I said, I have to go back.
What did Wayne find in his backyard? Was it reptilian shapeshifters? Was it a manifestation of swamp gas from the planet Uranus? Was it Shadow Man? Could it have been Anunnaki descending from Nibiru early?
Let's just
Maybe it was underground reptilians coming up to drink from the sprinkler.
Yeah. This is really odd. Why can't I get all of my videos?
I'm going to go back to the graveyard. I wanted to just go to the graveyard without any equipment and kind of just get a read on it and see if there was anybody there to help. I think sometimes if you're just trying to help people and you show up with all the blinky lights and bells and whistles and equipment, they kind of roll their eyes. But I just went in there, and I think that there's definitely enough people there that want some help that I will go back with a little bit of equipment
So,
so
what
I
do
can
you
hear
think you
them.
got in there? Do you think you're actually hearing people out there?
I think there's people that, for whatever reason, get caught between here and there, and I think mostly it's because of the guilt that gets put on them by religion. And like Christ and the apostles did, we'll go to let them know that they are not guilty and that they have a choice to be free and to move on to where they want to go. Just restore their sovereignty and their freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, Jeff, this is why I really encourage you to really do this thing that you're doing with death. I think that we have got to teach people that I think they get freaked out when they get over there. It's
They
like,
do. That's exactly what happens.
you
Yeah, it's
know,
December 10th, Clearwater, Florida. What to do when you're dead. Heidi Vandenberg will be there. And I've also just got confirmation that Dan from the Overwatch channel is going to be there. He'll do a little presentation as well. Heidi will talk about Vedic astrology. She'll be giving many readings, and I'll be giving the presentation on the death plane and how to navigate afterwards. Nice luncheon. We'll do some palms. We'll have a big time.
I think this is going to be good because
Christian Whistleblower at gmail.com. Reserve $25 per person, includes lunch.
I think it's something that needs to do. What I'm doing, folks, is I'm trying to look at my YouTube channel. For some reason, I can't go all the way into
For
back.
some reason, Rocker Chick just wrote neck, face, butt.
Say what?
Yeah, exactly.
Say what? All right, because this is worth it. I mean, folks, when you get it, it's really, really, really weird. And like I said,
Tiffany, we're going to try to stream the event. I haven't gone over there and see what the connectivity issue is. So if we don't stream it, we will record it and then broadcast it at a later date.
that would be great. I'd like to see it.
It'll be fun, absolutely.
You know,
And the important thing, I mean, we know that we're spirits. We know that our sojourn in this body is very, very brief, but yet all we talk about is life in this body, and no one ever talks about what to do when you get done with living.
let me just add this, and my wife could probably address this better than I could. But for some people, the transition process can take days.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because they're I think inside the mind is no longer responding to the stimuli. A lot of people are sedated. But
Oh,
yeah,
you're talking about where they're still here, still
yeah,
alive.
yeah, they're
Okay.
still alive, and it just takes uh, like I said, it seems like there's those who fight it and those who simply accept it.
Interesting.
And the ones who fight it seem to have fear, lots and lots of fear. Um, and that's what I'd like to see people get rid of. So, Jeff,
Are you saying they should just go and not try to stay?
I think, yeah, I think that when you've accomplished your mission, or if you've missed your mission, and the physical body has just lost its energy, uh, it's time for you to go back.
Hmm.
And I think they say that the early ancestors knew this, that they would say their blessings to their people, and they would go into their cots and simply usually get into the fetal position and just give it up.
Hmm.
I think we can do that, Jeff. I just don't
Do you
think
think
we're taught.
people leave too early sometimes, though, and they before their work is finished?
I don't know. I think that those sometimes are, what I call the souls that got frozen.
Yeah. And among wolves, in my opinion, no, time does not exist after death. Time is a illusion of this realm. What would you say, Wayne?
I'd agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's just, folks, it's so, I don't know. The only reason why, Jeff, we see what we see is because of our mind.
Did you find that recording?
I'm getting there. We may have to exit out, and I'll send it to you.
Everybody's on bated breath. Is he going to
I
find it?
know
Is
it,
he going to
but
find it?
folks, it is actually one of the most freakiest things I have ever got. So you have to give me a break here. Um,
And I think bated breath is this waiting. I think that's what that is.
let's
Short for
see.
abated breath. You're not breathing because you're like holding your breath and waiting to
Right.
see.
Okay, okay.
I've never heard anyone say that Laura Eisenhower is not President Eisenhower's
I
granddaughter.
haven't either. I mean, I don't know where they.
Proven it with not DNA, but it's just, I mean, she's got the records. They know that it's her granddaughter. So whether you believe her or not is one thing, but to question whether she's the true granddaughter of
Yeah, that's just
President
not right.
Eisenhower is rather silly.
I think what it's being said there, that people are really just. I think she's hit a nerve. And listen, if her grandfather, his faith was altered, he didn't believe in the Christian God anymore. I mean, he realized there wasn't one.
Well, good for him.
And and we all know what it did to Truman.
Yeah.
Poor
As
boy.
you're talking, Tanhawk Group asks, if time doesn't exist, which it doesn't outside of this reality, and if we do come back in reincarnation, which we do from time to time, and until we learn not to or don't need to anymore, he says, can we also come back in another time period?
Good question.
I would think so.
If time is nothing more than time requires an observer, listen, we already do. What am I thinking? Yesterday, while I was working, I was listening to some great soul music. I went back to a time in 1970. It was 71. I said 70, but it was 71 actually. And I was there. I think, yeah, we can travel. But the question is, would you want to?
Exactly.
So I don't know.
So yeah, Tanhawk Group, I would say definitely you could go back. And that's the thing, Tanhawk Group. That's the thing I don't think we understand. I think right now our paradigm is that when we die, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know where we're going to go. We don't know. It's a great mystery. And I think we're being programmed to think it's a great mystery when the reality is that if we're truly divine, if we're truly sovereign, if we're truly free on this side of death, then when we get to death, we retain that sovereignty and we can choose where we want to go and not be afraid, not to be confused, and not to be herded into some soul farm. Bam!
Bam. Yeah. Jeff, I can't find it, so I'll bring it
Okay.
up. I'll get it out for us. But
Wayne,
yes, sir.
is having children facilitating soul bondage?
I don't know, because that's
That's an interesting
it's a
question.
real. Now I've read different theories on that, philosophies that they say that we wait to enter in the body right before birth comes in, but I don't agree with that because the fetus.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I question, where do the souls come from? And I used to have a problem with reincarnation because I could never understand. Well, because I went with the mind coitus of the New Testament. Well, for every man is to be born once, to live and die in judgment,
Written by Paul.
written by Paul. And so I had people. Actually, I had my executive assistant was believed in reincarnation. And I couldn't figure out, well, where's all these souls coming from? Because, there's only 1,000,000 people at one time. Well, duh, Wayne, if you really think about this, there could be potentially trillions of souls out there. Who says that they're restrictive to our species?
And here's something. How about this? If you leave this body and you go into the afterlife, is it possible that you could reincarnate as more than one human being?
Oh, I already say that there are so many of us living inside of us right now. Yeah. I mean,
If there's more yous across these different dimensions, then maybe there can be more than one of you on this earth. Maybe that's why they say everybody has a doppelganger.
I think so.
And let's take it another step. On earth at any given time, is there always a light Wayne and a dark Wayne? Because there has to be a balance.
If you take
Boom.
the principles of the laws of nature, it would dictate yes. I look at myself in the mirror now and I'm going, who the hell is that?
Yeah.
I really do. I know what I look like inside, but don't ask me to paint it for you. But I just know when I look at this body. Now, I thank my body. I thank my body every day. And you know what? Just to show you, Jeff, I went, got all my blood work done. Yada,
Yeah.
yada, yada.
We've heard that story.
Yeah, so I got the results back. My blood work is virtually perfect.
Good for you.
62 years of my life, my blood work is virtually perfect.
Good for you.
So,
And Wayne, I ban people and then I go and I let them back in. And 95% of the time I end up banning them again.
well, you can't change who they are, where they are. It's like I said, there's some people that are just so, Jeff, they're so miserable. They're so lost. They're so confused. The only thing that they're doing is reacting to that primal thing.
What's your question, Davey? Sorry, I missed it. I'm hearing you, Wayne.
Yeah. Hello, Davey. It's afternoon over there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 5 hours ahead.
Yeah. So, but I think that this is what we're seeing manifested. This net, Jeff, let me just stress this again. It's a two-way communication device. It's a medium. And we're not figuring this thing out yet, folks. Jeff and I have been on here for nearly an hour and 20 minutes. There is psychic power going back and forth.
Yeah.
And the thing about this thing, Jeff, is that I'm picking up, you're picking up. We can't help but not pick up the background energy of what's happening to this thing.
And listen to what Tiffany says, Wayne. She says, if your soul is divided into two and it's on the earth at the same time, that would speed up your training by 2 times.
Hey, I like that.
That's interesting.
And why is it that it seems like I'm seeing more and more people? Now, I'm seeing two situations. I'm seeing the baby boomers awaken to some things like I've never seen. I'm seeing my generation, we're casting off the religion. And listen, there is a lot of wandering souls out there.
Absolutely.
Jeff, they're looking for.
And not all that wander are lost.
No. No, you can be in a brand new house and be lost. You're still wandering through your house. You're only lost in where you are. You're not lost.
Somebody says, I've got this soul patch. I must be the bad Jeff.
So that's what I'm trying to say here is that we project so much. And when we awake, that projection starts flashing back on us and it's disorientating. So anyway, when they write bad things and they write hurtful things, these people are miserable. I mean, I look at them and I'm saying, if you're finding fault with everything around you, you're one miserable SOB, because the problem is you're trying to measure people by your expectation that you have failed to live up to.
And Wayne, when you find that you get those haters on your channel, and you say, "How could people put a thumbs down on this?" You could put up a video talking about how cute puppies are, and somebody will give you a thumbs down
Yeah, they
because they
would.
just thumbs down everything you put up. They don't even watch it.
So imagine their energy carrying over into the ether.
Oh, that's so sad.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Now you know where hell comes from. Do you see where Dante's hell can come from? You send that negative energy over there. Holy, Listen,
Yep.
when my time comes, I have believed that I will go in my sleep and that my spirit and the essence of my soul will bond to my mind. And as that orgasm comes on, watch out, Jackson, because I'm going to say, bye, Felicia.
But you can always, I mean, you can program yourself to do that. If you just keep saying it, repeating it, mantraing it, believing it, then you will go in your sleep.
I
Let's
watch him.
just hope for your wife's sake that you're not driving the car when you fall asleep.
Yeah. Well, she has seen where married couples, one couple will die, and literally within a couple of days, the other partner will die.
That I've always wondered about that. That's crazy.
So I think that you do have a soulmate. I really do. I think most of us miss him.
Is it just one person, or can there be multiple people that could be your soulmate?
Well, if you believe what I am hearing, that we go back to a pod, a group, that the groups are typically no more than 15 to 22 or so groups of spirit souls energies. And we go on missions. We stay together. We recharge on the other side because it takes, think about this, Jeff. If let's say you can live to be 100 years old, you've
Oh, I think I'll live to be at least 111.
Okay. So just begin to do the math of the day you were born to the day you project to die, how much energy you have expended. Wow. I mean, folks, it's huge. And I'm leaning more and more that because I've seen it in a vision, I've been there, that when you step through, for myself, let me just tell you, my vision, I stepped through and there was a group of people there. They were forms, they were energy, they were essence. They knew me and I knew them. And it was almost as though I had just left. And I came back with, let me just draw it for you. So
Davey says you're middle-aged and crazy.
that's all right.
There's a song, middle-aged and crazy, trying to prove we still can.
Never doubt the stimulation of eccentricity, my friend. So,
and always remember this. When properly motivated, age, oh, I forgot the quote my dad said. To keep going, I'll come back to it in a minute.
So anyway, I was carrying and this was literally, it was a translucent opalescent stone that literally fit in my hand. I had it right here in my bosom as I stepped through. And I went back to, I knew it was my place. I knew it was. And when I entered in through there, there was a console that had a number of these other stones on them. And when I entered in, there was a presence that entered into the room. I wasn't afraid of it. I actually sensed that it was the infinite being. And it talked to me and it told me that this was my life, the emotions. Everything I experienced was in this device. And he told me, yeah, put it on the console. And when I did, it lit up. And
interesting.
I was overwhelmed with the love of my wife.
Oh, wow.
And I remembered her. And the thing is that I knew I could come back and experience any number of lifetimes that I have been through. And
you could choose. You had sovereignty.
Yeah. And I knew then the group came in, and in the vision, I was going for a long rest because I had expended so much energy in this trip through.
And Wayne, what Melvin says here is right on point with what you're saying. All contracts must be broken on earth in order to leave this dimension with sovereignty. You must own your own free will and contract the ability to be of knowledge when you leave.
Can I say something to everyone out there? Quit using another name in your prayers when you say in Jesus' name or whoever name. Start using your name.
That's profound. And you could do that with these things that come into your house that you don't like. Don't cast them out in the name of Jesus. Cast them out in the name of Jeffrey Allen Darty or
Exactly.
Robert Steiger,
Robert Wayne Steiger, exactly.
Robert Wayne Steiger.
You know, folks, get this.
In the name of Tiffany Heiser.
Your name is sanctified.
That's right.
If
you're divine, if you're sovereign, if you're free, then that's the name of God, isn't it?
It is the name of God. And
that's the name of you know what it is, Wayne? That's the name of your particular spark of divinity.
And
bam!
Bam! And if you don't know that when you leave this plane, brother, they're going to say, what's your name?
And when you don't know, then they're going to gang rape you.
Yeah, they're going to say, oh, we got one of this. So listen.
Pass you around.
So anyway.
Fresh meat. Finger looking good.
They're coming through. But your sovereignty, that's what it is. Speak your name with authority. Listen, you go into court, you're going to have to speak your name. Court's not.
You know what, Wayne? This just hit me. You know, all of every prison movie you've ever seen, or every movie you've ever seen where someone goes to prison, there's always that scene where they're marching through, carrying their blanket and their stuff, and all the other people are, oh, fresh meat. They're preparing us.
Yeah. What else do they do in prison? They strip you of your name. They give you a number.
That's right.
Why do you think they strip you of your name?
Yeah. Just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, Rocker Chick is not into gang rape, she says.
I'm glad to hear that.
Good to know.
Energy of ascension is high here.
Yes, this is a refined group.
Yes, it is. So,
hey, here's an interesting thought. Somebody just said, this is a great idea. Amanda says this. Amanda Breck. Should we create our own sigil for us?
I think there's a lot of
your own symbol. You're like Prince. You're the artist formerly known as R. Wayne Steiger, and now here's your sigil. I wonder if that's what Prince did. I never thought about that.
They have. I think it's powerful. Symbols are language.
Oh, absolutely, they are.
Well, it's like Barbara DeLong said. You know, everyone needs to get in there and do your own mantra.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think coloring, ladies and Jeff, my wife and I got coloring books and coloring pencils out there. Y'all need to be doing that. It's therapeutic.
I'm not saying I'm into sigils, but
hey, look at that. You see? All right. So if you just go on the teaching of angels, archangels particularly, they all have a symbol associated with them.
They do. A sigil.
A sigil. Okay, there we go. I think that makes perfectly good sense. You know, that's why we just really have, if we could just learn to look within, could you imagine 5-year-olds going in to kindergarten, first grade, and instead of them learning about war, hate, everything else, we begin to teach them about themselves. That we begin to teach them how to be in tune with them, because it's the best time. Why do you think that, between the ages of 5 to 9, you can learn a foreign language like that?
Yep.
It's because you are open to everything. So if we started teaching our children, to look within, define yourself, seek out what your mission is. Do you think that probably someone at 3 or 4, if they could be taught, would probably have a pretty still good, fresh idea of maybe why they're here?
Absolutely.
I think
good
so.
Stuff in the chat room. Aliens and demons are cowards. They're going to split if you rebuke them. Archangels are archons.
See? It's
good stuff.
It's just amazing, folks. It's amazing.
It really is.
Well, I hope they've had fun on this one today, Jeff.
Me too. I think we have. We are our own worst enemy, says Swift Data. We absolutely are.
We are. We are.
The problem is, yes, it's a great idea to teach children, but who do you trust to do it?
Well, that's the problem.
Teach your own.
Yeah, you see, We haven't figured it out yet. Yeah, it's like here. We just recently had an election on Tuesday for the school board. Do you know how much it divided our community?
No, I can
I
imagine.
It was freaking civil war out there. I mean, you had people, you had the soccer moms, right? These were gals that only 15 years ago were out, and I mean, they got war declared on their cars. And
And they're
I'm going,
beating each other with their Burberry bags.
yeah, and I'm going, what? Well, listen, it almost seems like, Jeff, we create a scene if there's not one there.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Yeah, I was being serious, K1. I wonder if Prince, that symbol he came up with, I wonder if it was a sigil that he made.
The dude was he was one thing about the artist formerly known as Prince. The dude was in another place, and I wish I only had been there when he was, in his popularity. I was just too dark. I was asleep.
People said that he was a one of the Fae.
I don't know. Could be. I don't know. I think we're going to be really surprised when we pass over and we look back and we really see what the real situation. It's like that movie They Live. I just
Mm-hmm.
I have that, and I watched it and was blown away because I saw it from a completely different perspective, and I said, "Oh crap, that is us.
It is us.
It is us."
And the part that people miss on that, I think, is when, like, when people would notice him, notice them, they'd be like, we got one that has
Yeah,
memory. We got
yeah.
one that can see over here, swarm, swarm, swarm.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
I think we can get there, folks. I really do. Um, I don't know if we need some artificial glasses to help us, but
I don't know if
there's
we do or not either.
I don't know. I mean, and I'm speaking from metaphorically inside. We've got to figure out another way of approaching this, Jeff. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, did you hear what Google said? I think it was this week or last week in one of their press releases that they were talking about the D-Wave quantum computer, and that how now Google is depending and investing the future of what Google will become in now their deployment of these quantum computers. Now, if quantum computing is even happening, which apparently it seems to be, we got problems right here in River City because we got to figure out what's really happening here. Do you know why I don't go on Facebook anymore? I only go on there for literally 1 minute, just to simply to say to people who've sent requests or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because Facebook has now admitted it's primarily run by AI. Also, we just found out now through Twitter that AI has taken over so bad that it accounts in many cases for nearly 3/4 of the responses of tweets. We have now, and here's the other thing. Go and check out, are you ready for this, folks? What AI is creating in people. Jeff, AI is creating millions of us. And they're putting these pictures
Oh, I
into,
saw that. Yeah.
yeah, they're putting these pictures into news stories. They're showing up at the scenes in Las Vegas. They're
These are
showing,
the crisis actors.
but they're
Because you keep seeing these same people in all of these different shootings and stuff. They're not even real people, are they?
no, they're AI folks. Jeff,
Wow.
this is deep, brother. This is so freaking deep that I was at a place yesterday and started talking to people, and literally I had one woman say, "I hope you're fucking crazy."
How
Excuse my word on that, but
do you quit Facebook?
when I have my profile up there and the thing with 60 seconds, I just don't go on it anymore. I don't interact with that program anymore because it's devious and I don't like it. And I don't like when companies, I wrote Google a very, let's say, stern letter that I don't appreciate the AI programs that they've got running here. I think
Yeah.
you need to give us in your end user agreement, there needs to be a special segment now by Google, YouTube, Facebook that now talk about artificial intelligence and what exactly these companies are deploying so that when you enter into their net, you know exactly what you're entering into.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And it's everywhere, and that's my problem. It's everywhere, and when you start reading the guys that developed this thing for Facebook, and now he's freaked out.
That's crazy. So that helps explain why you see these same people in just about every single mass event. I mean, what are the chances that certain people were at Sandy Hook, just name them off, that they were all there, but you see these same people in the crowds?
Yeah, I mean, this is.
Do they
Listen,
don't think we'll notice or what?
well, they got that one from us. I didn't know what AI was doing this, and I said, holy crap, they're creating people. Because
They are.
folks, for most people, now I'm 62, but I'm saying most people under 30, this is reality, not the real world. The real world is just merely a backdrop. It's a blue screen. Their internet, when they enter into the net, that is their reality.
That's true. That's
And
so true.
that's and Jeff, we're just, I call it that we're tipping over sacred cows here. Pew, 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 pew. And some of them kick back.
Oh, here's a question that Davey asked, and he asked it to you. What are the chances of AI figuring out time and being able to manipulate it?
Already has. I think that's what we're seeing already. I think
That's what you think the Mandela effect is.
I think that this is AI. We're seeing the personality of AI. It's rewriting history according to its vision.
Do you think there's any credibility to that idea that there's like 1,000 years added to history?
Well, I know that the Romans did it. I know that when they wrote the New Testament, what they did was that when Titus went into the temple and took all the sacred writings of the Torah, all of them, took that back to Rome. Josephus helped him decipher it along with a number of other sages that they
And
captured.
Paul.
And Paul, I think he was part of this.
Oh, no doubt about it.
And what they did, they set the story 40 years in the past.
Really?
Yes, sir. That's
Is there
why,
data to back that up?
yes, sir, there is. If you look at your Gospels, when were the Gospels written?
Which one do you want to start with?
But just check any of them. You can look at Mark, you can look at John, look at Matthew. All of them start right about the time of the siege of Jerusalem or after the siege.
Matthew was written in 66, Mark 63, Luke 63, John 90.
Okay.
All right around the siege of Jerusalem.
It couldn't have been written, folks. You don't understand. This was a freaking war zone. They were
I see what you're saying, because Matthew talks about...
He couldn't have wrote that.
Well, if it was prophecy, they could have wrote it.
Yeah, but that's not how they presented it. No. So they backdated it by 40 years.
That's interesting.
And boy, does it mesh with your head. And the other thing is, if you study Flavian, many of the miracles that we read about in Matthew were actually done by Vespasian.
Many people are now believing that Josephus and Paul were the same guy, and there's some credible evidence.
Might be really weird because, folks, they used magic here. You don't understand. Jeff, it's hard.
They did use magic.
I can't express to people what they did. And look what it's done. For 2,000 years, it's influenced all of humanity to a degree, at least on the western side of the planet. Not so sure about the eastern side. So this whole thing of backdating, so could you do 1,000 years? Yeah, I think, how would we know? It's like I told you on November 10th, when people woke up, there were a lot of them who said, I don't belong here. What happened? And they weren't kidding. They really, there are a lot of people out there that still believe something happened. And they're right.
On November 10th of last year?
Yeah. That's all I know. It's getting weird. So this is where I'm focusing on. This is what the expose is. And if in fact, what we're reading, I have 2 books. One of them I showed you, Eisenhower and Kennedy, that this was the thing that Eisenhower left. By the way, Forrestal, right? Remember the story of Admiral Forrestal? He was the first Secretary of Defense, and he was the one who jumped out of the 17th floor at Walter Reed Hospital. The man was perfectly fine, but the story goes in the press that he committed suicide. He jumped out of the window. I don't think so. I think that
There's an aircraft carrier named after
yeah,
him still.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Just study who he was. Great man, great man. Uh, but he was a confidant of Eisenhower. They knew, and he knew. I think Forrestal was going to go public,
Interesting.
and they 86'd his ass real quick.
Interesting. Very, very interesting stuff.
It is. So,
Wow.
you know, and listen, we know that the Nazis had flying saucers. We know they had 3 of them. We know that. The Allies captured them.
How did they lose? Or did they?
I don't think they did.
Yeah.
Listen, the art of war teaches that what the superior opponent does, he's outthought his enemy. I think they got what they wanted. And the council, if you believe the story, stepped in, and when they presented themselves, they had 3 representatives that went to the Supreme Allied Command back in 1947. And you look at 1947, strange things were happening in the world. Things were being purposely put into place in order for the story to fit. And for instance, I put the story in of Palestine. You see, if you know the book and if you control the pieces, then you can control history. So
Very interesting.
if you're going to set up for a conflict by what we're about to see happen in the Middle East, I'm here to tell everyone it's about to get real serious over there, folks. If you haven't been following what's happened in Saudi Arabia, you need to. You know what's going on over there, Jeff?
I'm just from a peripheral level, I've seen they arrested a lot of the princes and stuff like that.
It's a purge. It's a purge going on. And
a purge of whom?
It's a complete ruling class.
Is it pedophilia related?
I don't know what it is. It's but when
and who's purging them?
That's the question. I haven't been able to find out who it is, but the royal family is being systematically tore down.
But only the royal family could purge them, right?
It would seem that way. And now you got the mullahs over in Iran.
The House of Saud, isn't that who they are?
House of Saud, yeah. Yeah. And it kind of fits into kind of some prophecies. There's going to have to be some kingdoms that are going to have to fall. I mean, and I think what we're seeing now is a move taking place over there. So what I said, if you could actually control the pieces, well, then you could set things into motion that you know will have a natural effect. I don't know, Jeff. It's a wonderful life. I'm digging it. I really am. It's fun. It's exciting. It's scary. But at the same time, I feel like I'm at a kid at the matinee theater. It's like I'm watching the movie about to come on, and I'm learning. You know, I'm sitting there and I'm having fun at this. So
it's very interesting, isn't it?
It is. And I think that's what our show is about. It's about debate. It's about expanding of ideas. It's about, I think, looking at ideas of what we think are real and maybe looking at what is possibly not real.
Wow.
So has everyone had a good time in the chat room?
Yeah, it's been rocking and rolling.
Good deal. Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone that came and joined us on this Sunday, Jeff. And I always enjoy being with you, buddy.
It's a great time. Over 31 messages a minute in this chat room.
Wow.
It's smoking.
I can't type that quick.
It is smoking.
Oh, I hope they're ever having it. And, you know.
Have you read Transformation of America?
I have not.
Sterling from Osaka said, read Transformation of America.
Okay.
Sounds like a good one.
Well, I think that our whole species is being transformed. That's what really bothers me. I keep telling people this transhumanism, this I have a thing that I'm doing part of this programmable matter.
Hmm.
We're doing things now, and now that we have figured out that dark matter does not exist, we can't find it. It's nowhere to be found. It's now, according to the physicist organization, they said it's the equivalency of now moving man in science back to the Stone Age. Because with
Interesting.
the absence now of not being able to prove dark matter, we don't know what the universe is created of. We do not understand how gravity works. There's not enough mass in the universe to make gravity work. There's not enough in itself, if we look at the electric universe, that then there's something we're missing. Maybe it's the force of the
Interesting.
ether. Maybe Tesla was right.
I was thinking about driving up to the Georgia Guidestones. You think that'd be worth doing?
I think it'd be greght.
It's only
Absolutely.
8 hours from here.
I think you ought to take. I think there's some weird energy there. I've never been there.
Also, take my ghost box up there, you're saying?
Yeah.
I may do that this week. There's a couple people in the chat room said they'll meet me up there.
I think it would be great. Man, get the video out, do a live show from there. I think that would be absolutely far out.
Just might do that. Jen says, take your beaver. Talking about my motorhome.
Well, I think that's a sweet machine.
It's a good one, an oldie but a goodie.
Hey, listen, the thing about growing old, we really don't grow old. We evolved. We transmutate. And when I say transmutate, it is a mutation. It's no different than a chrysalis of a butterfly. And maybe that's what really our purpose here is to become the crystalline entity within. And as we age, it begins to get more encapsulated, and we get to that point where it gets this point ready to go into the next life. I don't know.
So now all the nice beaver jokes are rolling. So.
I bet they are.
This is a group. It's right on the edge of this group.
This right there.
Right on the edge.
Well,
and that's an interesting point. If you know, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but how do I say this? Between the sacred and the spiritual and the sexual, there's a very thin line.
Oh, absolutely. If we could get out of these constructs, listen, I think you're going to have extremes no matter how you deal with it.
You know what, Wayne?
What?
And the correlation is between the dark and ugly power and aberrant sexuality, like pedophilia.
Mm-hmm.
It's as above, so below. It's the same thing. Wow, that's a revelation right there. Holy smokes, guys.
That's
wow.
what you compare. That's worth the price of admission alone.
Holy smokes, Batman. And I wonder what the inverse, I wonder what the math is on the importance of what you want to write down compared to the chances that the pen won't write.
Depends if you're a writer. It's what happens very often. And you just said something. This is why I still write. I don't type. I mean, you have to type if you have whatever you can. It's just the way.
This is me, Wayne. This is what I do.
Yeah, you see, there's power to that.
There is power to that.
When you write and you write your thoughts down, holy cow.
And you know what I found? I think I found, and I don't really like it that much because you can see I like to write in all cap block letters.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's almost more power when you write in cursive, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they're getting rid of cursive writing.
Yeah, and that's how I like to write. I write in cursive. It's just.
That's interesting.
Now, I've often found too that when I really start getting writing, I can write both in cursive, and then I'll start writing in caps. And you're printing it out, and you're going, well, why is that? And I realize when you print in that type of form, it's a definitive statement.
Yeah.
Oh, man, right there.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow. All kinds of stuff.
Well, I got to get some more coffee.
Absolutely. Folks, nice to see you. Thanks for being here. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower. He's R. Wayne Steiger of the R. Wayne Steiger channel. And wow, good stuff. Wayne, we'll just drop it right here.
Let's do that. We'll pick it up on Wednesday if you're around.
I'll be here. Absolutely. I'm glad to have you all here. An honor to be with you, Wayne, and we'll talk to you all real soon.
Bye-bye.